Hello, my fellow travelers. Today, we're exploring one of Europe's oldest cities, Lisbon, Portugal. It's a place with a ton of history. While summer crowds swarm the streets, autumn visitors get to experience this incredible city like a local, with perfect 60 to 70 degree weather, shorter lines, and better deals. Welcome to my channel. My name's Erin Donahue, and I'm a professional travel photographer and content creator. I first traveled to Lisbon a couple years ago before it became a tourist hotspot. Why I chose to go there was because it's budget-friendly, has easy public transportation, direct flights from the US, and it's a foodie heaven. Since then, it's become a very popular spot because of those reasons I've listed. So I've returned during shoulder season, but this time I brought someone special, my mom. I wanted to focus this video on senior travel because she recently retired and this is her first time in Europe. But she doesn't like being in front of the camera, so I'll keep this broad because there's a lot to see and do in town, but if you're on a tight schedule, you can experience the highlights of Lisbon within 3 or 4 days. Whether you're a solo traveler or traveling with family, this guide's got you covered because everything still applies. Before we get into it, don't forget to like and subscribe as it helps me with the algorithm and tells me you enjoy the content I put out. Alrighty, let's go. Known as the City of Seven Hills, Lisbon will definitely give you a workout. But let's quickly talk about where you can rest your feet after walking those famous hills. I'll have a more in-depth review linked if you prefer a deeper dive on these hotels. If you're looking to splurge, the Four Seasons Hotel Ritz is your spot. The rooms offer stunning views over Old Town, and the 5-star spot is divine. On site, there's 2 restaurants. One is Veranda, which has an amazing breakfast buffet, and then there's also Michelin-starred Cura. The next spot I stayed at for this trip is Casa Amora Studios. It's a bed and breakfast with individual living spaces, offering a more intimate experience of Lisbon living. While Lisbon is generally safe, here's something you need to know. The reputation of pickpockets are real, especially in tourist areas. Last time I came here, there was a pilot strike and I waited in customs for over 4 hours. But this time there was a little bit of an incident too. I'm traveling with my mom for this trip and unfortunately within 24 hours of us arriving, she was targeted by pickpockets. It was in the Barrio Alto on one of the narrow sidewalks. A little change of scenery because it got windy. It was a typical MO. It was 2 girls with jet black hair because they're never alone. And somehow my mom got stuck behind a group of tourists, and that's usually when these pickpockets strike. What's weird is whenever I walk with someone, I'm usually behind them just out of habit and just to be that person that rounds out the group. And then one of the few times that I'm in front, this happened. Thankfully, they didn't get anything. My mom is a pretty alert person, and she said she immediately felt like a tugging on her bag. But the first 2 times, there was she turned around, there was no one behind her. So they must have moved out of the way and they were just out of her line of sight. The 3rd time she fully turned around and then one of these girls had my mom's sunglasses and her tissues in her hand and she goes, "What's going on?" And apparently this girl just looks up at the sky and gives my mom's stuff back to her before she put 2 and 2 together. When we got reunited where the sidewalk reopens, my mom gives me a look and she goes, "My bag was open." And then I see these 2 girls down the street and they turned around to look at us. So I go, "Yeah, I see you." And they were just smiling and waving and playing dumb. But if you're innocent, why are you turning around to look at us? Like, stupid fucking bitches. I should have taken out my phone and recorded them and be like, "Attention, pickpocket." But I'm just not one of those people that whips out my phone in a confrontation, which I know, ironic considering this. So anyways, we didn't want this to sour our mood, especially so early in the trip. So we went to Prada after to get rid of that bad karma. Big European cities unfortunately have this reputation, and getting swiped is not something I've ever had to worry about in New York City. My apartment did get robbed though, so just be diligent and take precautions, but fuck them bitches. Anyway, so getting around Lisbon is a breeze, even with all those hills. The metro system is efficient and clean, while Uber and Bolt offer cheap rides. But the real joy comes from walking. I'm such a fan of walkable cities. It's why I can't imagine living anywhere else in the US except for New York City. You'll want to pack comfortable shoes because this city has so much to offer. I swear by Onitsuka tigers from Japan for those cobblestone streets.
I'm now the biggest Onitsuka tiger fan because I was hurting the past 2 weeks walking around Taiwan without any proper arch support. And then I saw online these sneakers that everyone was raving about, how comfortable they are. I was a bit skeptical because everyone always says about the sneakers. I bought a pair. The relief I felt was immediate. My hips and legs were in so much pain, and my back actually. And I'm obsessed with this brand now.
So what's there to do? First up, you can't miss experiencing Lisbon's historic lift system. For instance, the Ascensor de Gloria dates back to 1885.
that'll save your legs from the brutal 18-degree slope. It's basically a moving piece of history, but I didn't ride in any of these lifts, I just walked everywhere. This might be specific to photographers. I mean, I am a photographer, but it's a must to watch sunsets somewhere. In autumn, the golden hour here hits different. The crowds have thinned out at places like Caixdas Colinas, but it's still pretty crowded. The light, though, is just beautiful. And then here's a local secret. Skip the long lines at the Santa Justa elevator. Instead, walk over to the Carmel Convent in the Chiado district. You'll get the same exact view, minus the fee and waiting in line for a literal elevator. I actually discovered this spot by accident during my first trip in 2021, and it's been my go-to ever since. For the absolute best sunset experience, head over to any of the Miraduros or lookout points. It's a bit of a climb, but the panoramic views make every step worth it. So a lot of people travel to Europe to shop for luxury goods, and I'm no exception. Lisbon is an incredible place to do your luxury shopping, especially if you're visiting from outside the EU. Why? 2 words. VAT refund. If you don't know what that is, let me break it down for you. When you shop anywhere in Europe, you're paying a value-added tax, or VAT. I think it can be up to 23% in Portugal. But here's the exciting part. If you're a non-EU resident, like an American, you can get this tax refunded when you leave the EU. I took advantage of this during my recent trip and treated myself to something special. A pair of Gucci Jordan loafers in this gorgeous red. This is the first luxury item that I've ever purchased, and I finally felt comfortable after 3 years of freelancing to do a bit of splurging. Beyond shopping, Lisbon offers endless cultural experiences. You'll notice when walking around, there's not a single skyscraper. Lisbon and the broader Portugal have a bunch of UNESCO World Heritage sites that'll take your breath away. On the Belém side of town is a tower, which is good to see just at sunset for those perfect photos. No need to go inside. There's also the historic Jerónimos Monastery, which I think is more worth to buy a ticket to go in there because of its architecture. Hello from Lisbon. I am at the Jerónimos Monastery, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Let's dive into what's the best part of Lisbon, the food scene. A lot of places will probably recommend Time Out Market, but I'm not going to because I never went and I don't like going to those things. Uma Mascaria is famous and is a place I recommend to anyone visiting for the first time. Their seafood rice is legendary. It's actually the only dish on the menu. That's how confident they are. People get nervous when they think they can only pay in cash, and then you see people running out to go to the ATM. I think this one is the original storefront, but if you don't have euros on hand, they'll let you pay by card next door. Now, we need to talk about the pastéis de nata. Everyone will probably tell you to go to the Belém side since that's where they were originally made, but in my opinion, Montejaria makes the best ones in the city. If any locals want to dispute that though, leave a comment on where you think is better and I'll gladly eat there instead. The crispy, flaky pastry with a perfectly caramelized top and that custard still warm from the oven, it's a religious experience, especially sprinkling some cinnamon on top. Ginjinha, or ginja for short, is a traditional liquor made by infusing ginja berries, sugar, and spices in alcohol that marinates for over a year. This sweet ruby-colored drink is typically served in small bars throughout Lisbon, with this hole-in-the-wall in Rocio being the most famous spot.
Here in my hand is ginja, which is a Portuguese liquor drink. It's made of brandy or wine and infused with like a sour cherry and then cinnamon and sugar. I'm basically just redoing all the spots that I came to last time just because around content creation. But I remember last time I had this, it was absolutely disgusting. And this is actually my second drink. The liquor itself is delicious, but it was the cherry that really gets to you. So if you know me, like if I'm drinking, it's only shots. But this is delicious, actually. It warms you up, but it's not that cold today. The weather's been beautiful. So we got to the cherry part. That's the part I'm scared of. All right, to the cherry. That's where all the alcohol is. So my mom is trying it, and she actually really likes it. And now she's going to bring a bottle back to the US.
So good. It's really, really good.
And she doesn't drink.
For a non-drinker, and I like it a lot.
To round out this video, things to do in Lisbon include taking day trips. I don't have any B-roll from this most recent trip because I didn't get a chance to go, but if you have an extra day or two, do yourself a favor and take some of the popular day trips. The first one is in Sintra, which is just a 40-minute train ride away, and it feels like stepping into a fairy tale because of the colorful palaces. Another option is taking the train to Cascais, which was the summer haven for the Portuguese royals. Once you're there, make your way to Furnas de Guincho. It's this incredible seafood restaurant right on the water. This city has a way of making you feel like you've discovered something precious. A little slice of Portuguese paradise that somehow stayed under the radar. If you've been to Lisbon, drop a comment below with your favorite memory. And if you haven't been yet, well, what are you waiting for? Until next time, safe travels.